Welcome. Thank you for attending the Federal Program Compliance Division's Program Monitoring Validations training session. This session will focus on the Every Student Succeeds Act, private nonprofit schools equitable services in the area of timely and meaningful consultation between the school system and the private school officials to include PNP Affirmations of Consultation. This presentation is intended solely to provide general information and guidance to Texas school systems, education service centers, nonprofit subgrantees, and participating private schools receiving equitable services. The content in this presentation reflects the Texas Education Agency's current understanding of statute and applicable federal guidance. The content of this presentation is subject to change as a result of future guidance and/or other updates provided by federal agencies within regulatory oversight of these programs. This presentation does not constitute legal advice, and entities are therefore advised to seek legal counsel regarding the information and guidance provided in this presentation before acting upon the information provided. Artificial intelligence disclaimer. Recording or use of artificial intelligence. The Texas Education Agency, or TEA, does not permit third-party recording or the use of artificial intelligence, AI, summary services during its grants-related trainings. Attendees of the TEA's grants-related trainings may not use AI services, language models, applications, interfaces, or assistants to attend, review, or record the trainings. TEA further prohibits any person or entity from using the information included in its grants-related trainings to train AI technologies. Any attendees of TEA's grant-related trainings who violate this prohibition may be removed from the trainings and may be barred from attending future grants-related trainings. Please note that documentation for viral meetings is an acceptable form of documentation. Given the increase of virtual meeting environments, participant rosters that include the meeting title, meeting date, and stakeholder names and roles would be acceptable substitutes for the more traditional sign-in sheets. This eliminates the need of a participant signature. Documentation, documentation requested. Take note of these items. Documenting overall compliance for a program requirement may require several forms of documentation to be maintained locally and available upon request by TEA and/or an auditor. To ensure overall compliance with program requirements, school systems should refer to the program guide and/or other program-related resources that reference the multiple forms of documentation required to be maintained locally. The documentation requested for submission during the validation process may not include all forms of documentation that are required to be maintained locally. Statutory requirement for the Title I Part A PMP timely and meaningful consultation may be found in Section 1117. To ensure timely and meaningful consultation, a school system shall consult with appropriate private school officials during the design and development under the program. They should both have the goal of reaching agreement on how to provide equitable and effective programs for eligible private school children, and the results of which agreement shall be transmitted to the ombudsman designated. One of the things to remember as you meet as a school system with the private school officials is that you ensure that you are having a consultation meeting setup that is timely and that is also effective. Ensure that you're keeping documentation of the meeting. You have your meeting agenda, your meeting notes. It is dated for that particular session. You also get a record of who attended the consultation meetings for documentation purposes. Under the Title VIII programs, the same requirement may be found in Section 8501 that talks about the requirements of a timely and meaningful consultation that the school system would have with those eligible private school officials regarding programs under Title VIII, which are the Migrant, Title II Part A, Title III Part A, Title IV Part A, and Title IV Part B, which is 21st Century Competitive Grant. There is also an ESSA statutory program requirement, and this is for both the Title I Part A and Title VIII programs. There is a statutory requirement, and you can see that listed below, regarding the affirmations of consultation. And it states that the school system shall maintain in the agency's records and will provide to TEA a written affirmation signed by officials of each participating private school that the meaningful consultation requirement has occurred. The written affirmation shall provide the option for private school officials to indicate such beliefs that timely and meaningful consultation has not occurred or that the program design is not equitable with respect to eligible private school children. If the officials do not provide such affirmation within a reasonable period, the school system shall forward to TEA the documentation that consultation has or attempts at consultation have taken place. And for TEA, one of the ways that we capture the affirmation of consultation form is through a work app. It is specifically a private nonprofit affirmations work app. And within that work app, we ask that you only submit affirmations that are signed by both the school district and the private school that is participating, that you only submit those to us if the private school is participating in at least one program. It must be submitted through the work app for that current school year. Do not submit affirmations that are not ones in which the private school is not participating. If they're not participating with equitable services for the school year, you keep all documentation in your files and you do not submit anything to TEA. There are assurances that are related to specifically the Title I Part A consultation, which is in the program specific provision and assurances document accompanying the ESA consolidated application. To ensure timely and meaningful consultation, the school system shall consult with appropriate private school officials during the design and development of the school system's Title I Part A program. The school system and private school officials shall both have the goal of reaching agreement on how to provide equitable and effective programs for eligible private school children. There's also an assurance very similar for the Title VIII programs that is located also in TEA's ESSA Consolidated Program Specific Provisions and Assurances document. And it pretty much says the same thing as the one in Title I Part A. I do have page references. If you need more information, you can go there for each program where it does state that specific assurance by program. And one of the statutory assurances for timely, meaningful consultation to include PNP affirmations of consultation is below. And so, one of the things that I want to highlight here is that it states if the officials do not provide an affirmation within a reasonable period, the system shall forward to TA the documentation that such consultation or attempts has taken place. For TEA, one of the things that we offer is flexibility with that. If a private school is not participating, if they did not sign an affirmation form, if they did not respond to the private school, just keep that documentation on file. However, if there is an affirmation, this is the assurance that is listed regarding and including the PMP affirmation of consultation. The school system conducted timely and meaningful consultation with participating PMP school officials regarding the implementation of the ESSA sections 1117 for Title I Part A and 8501 for all the other title programs. The consultation occurred before the school system made any decisions that affect the opportunities of eligible private nonprofit school children, teachers, and other educational personnel to participate and continue through the implementation and assessment of program activities. I do want to state on the PR 3107, there is no self-check item for this particular requirement for submitting your affirmation. The affirmation should have already been submitted through the PNP work app of those that are participating with um, equitable services for the school year. And so there is only one piece of documentation that should be submitted, and that is going to be the evidence of ongoing consultation. And so, to meet this requirement, school systems must ensure that they have that documentation and that they submit meeting agendas from two uh, ongoing school system PMP school official consultation meetings from the year stated. For selected school systems, then TEA will also compare those affirmation consultation forms that were previously submitted by the PMP Affirmations Work App of that year. That will be compared against the Consolidated Compliance Report, which is the PR 3099 Private School Schedule, Part B data to ensure that the number of participating private schools matches the number of affirmations submitted. So, if the school system submitted affirmations with the intent that the private school planned on participating with a variety of programs, and then that private school declined services or decided not to participate at all, it is the school system's duty to go back into the work app for affirmations and upload a revised affirmation to say that maybe that private school, instead of participating in three programs, they only participated in one. So it needs to have the most recent PNP participation affirmations for each of those private schools. The number of affirmations with the number of programs, it must match the same number and data that is on the compliance report, which is the PR 3099 that the school system completes later. So if you say that there are 10 private schools that are participating with Title II programs, and there are 10 affirmations with different private schools, and those 10 private schools signed off that they are participating with Title II, and they did participate with Title II. Then on the ESA Consolidated Compliance Report, private school schedule, then the school system should be indicating that there were 10 participating schools for the Title II program and how many teachers that also represented, because that is typically used for professional development. The second piece of documentation that's required is the meeting notes from those two meetings. Whatever two meetings that you provided documentation for under 1.1 to show that you have ongoing consultation, you have the agendas, you also need the meeting notes from those two sessions. So it needs to align and have the same dates, not different dates of meeting notes than there are of agendas and consultation times. There are a few common mistakes that school systems have made in the past that result in an improvement needed status. And so please review these different areas that are the most common. Issues that may result in an improvement needed status could be the auditable documentation from the applicable program monitoring validation request was not submitted, or what was submitted did not reference the requested validation requirement, or it was not the correct year. So you need to ensure whatever year the TEA is asking that documentation to come from, that it is actually coming from that specific year and it is dated. There are times when a school system has not provided the two dated samples from the requested year. So you have to ensure that you have those two samples as well, and ensure that you have already submitted the total signed affirmation of consultation forms for participating private nonprofit schools per program that was previously submitted by the work app, and it should align with the school system's PMP compliance report. If it does not align, then that is an issue that would result in improvement needed. That is why it is so important to double check the affirmation of consultation forms, what they say, how many schools are participating, what the programs are that the schools are participating in, and that documentation and data aligns with the school's compliance report. I highly suggest that you would share your documentation that you will submit prior to turning it into TEA. Allow your Education Service Center to review that documentation. Allow them to look at it, review it, let you know that it does seem to be the documentation that would pass and meet requirements before you submit it. The ESC staff are very experienced and knowledgeable, and they would be able to help you as you submit this documentation. In addition, make sure that you do not submit affirmations unless you are asked to do that by TEA. Currently, we are not asking for you to submit any affirmations through the PMV work app. Your affirmation should have already been submitted in the PMP affirmations work app in the year in which it's referenced. Make sure they align. I can't say that enough, because every year there are several school systems that have completely different numbers on their compliance report as they have the number of participating affirmations of schools and programs. Now I'd like to share a few examples of resources and support. There are program monitoring validations process online resources. For example, there are program monitoring validation process handbooks, instructions for how to submit documentation through the work app. There's a training video, and there's also the training slides for this particular training. Program specific resources are available under the guidance documents for each program and requirement, as well as those videos and training slides that are program specific. And you may see all of the program resources are available by clicking on the ESA Program Monitoring Validations webpage link at the bottom of this presentation. Program Compliance Division also has a web page that can provide a lot more detail and information that all school systems should make themselves aware of. It is located on the ESA Program Monitoring Validations webpage, and there you can find specific compliance documentation that is related to timely and meaningful consultation meetings to include PMP Affirmations of Consultation. And so please review that. It gives you what the evidence is that is needed, evidence of ongoing consultation, and evidence of that the meeting notes from the ongoing consultation dates. And so you should have the agendas, you should have the meeting notes from that same date that are available. And so the guidance document walks you through what that looks like. You may also be able to view the training slides as well as this training video. School systems may also receive support from their local education service center as a complimentary technical assistance and training service. You may find the ESC contacts for each regional center on the TEA Title IV Part A webpage. Of just a few of the specifics Education Service Center ESA basic services that are provided free of charge to the school systems to ensure that it is meeting compliance when it comes to the program monitoring validations. And so the ESC staff, they are available to help you with the equitable service requirements under Title I Part A and Title VIII to assist the school system in their development and all the way through the submission process for the consolidated grant application, which is the PS 3099 private school schedule, and the PR 3099, which is the consolidated compliance report schedule. And so they are there ready and available to help you because they receive a grant to provide those services across the state. And also, they are also there to help those school systems as they work to submit documentation for the PNP Equitable Services Program monitoring validations. So please use those ESCs and their services to ensure that you are actually submitting documentation that hopefully is going to help you to meet compliance. Thank you for attending this virtual training session. If you have questions, please let me know. Have a wonderful day.